Good day and welcome to this broadcast of the Successful and Fulfilled Digital Summit. I'm Kim Warren Martin, the founder of Successful and Fulfilled, and I am absolutely elated that you're here. Welcome back to those of you who have joined us every day for the last 14 days. I see you and I know you are truly committed to being #successful and fulfilled. To those of you who have joined in on several of the broadcasts, whether planned or opportunistically, I see you and know you are also heading in the right direction. And lastly, but certainly not least, a very warm welcome to those of you who are tuning in for the very first time. Whether you're connected to one of the trainers or learned about this event directly from other participants or just saw videos scrolling in your feed, I'm excited to have you here, however you made it. So what is this summit all about? The Successful and Fulfilled Digital Summit is all about helping women to live life the way they want to live, deep down inside, not just the way we're told or expected or directed to live. It's about helping you to embrace the courage I know you already have to be a rebel and step out of your comfort zone and venture beyond happiness into fulfillment. When I started planning for this epic event, my target was 10 trainers. But as I was telling my business besties, colleagues, and friends how committed I am to helping women live successful and fulfilled lives, they all wanted to join me. And so my heart was truly blessed and I couldn't turn anyone away. And for you, that means that over the last 14 days, you've had the opportunity to hear from what I know to be the best and brightest in self-mastery, business principles and structure, and wealth building. And you were able to benefit from nearly 400 years of collective experience and exposure. And every person, every trainer you heard from is walking the walk they talked about. They've shared from their boldness and their brilliance, their courage and commitment, their wisdom and time, all to help you begin the journey to fulfillment. I believe every woman was born to live in a soulful state of fulfillment. So this summit is all about educating and inspiring, empowering and encouraging women to take big, bold steps toward fulfillment. First in life, second in your business or career, and third in wealth building. All so you can live a legacy of love and life. And notice I said live, not just lead. So it's been a phenomenal 14 days. So why don't we just give a digital applause to all of the women and men who answered the call and came together to help you be your best self, your most fulfilled self, and #undeniably you. Now, if you're wondering how to give a digital applause, just post in the feed, "Thank you, Summit Trainers." Again, post in the feed, "Thank you, Summit Trainers," and heart up this video and just show them some love and let them feel the gratitude wherever they may be at this moment. So just take a few seconds and post in the feed, "Thank you, Summit Trainers." All right, thank you for doing that. Now, I am really looking forward to going over the information I have to share with you in this training. It was truly groundbreaking, liberating, and life-changing for me, and will be the same for you. I'm excited to help you to give yourself permission to move beyond achievement to fulfillment. As I train on, you didn't fail, you just forgot who you are. Finding your success in a sea of failures. So before we get started, I want to ask you to do a couple of things. Post in the feed your first name, your last name, and what city you are in or where you're watching in from. Again, post in the feed your first name, your last name, and what city you are in or where you're watching in from. The second thing I want to ask you to do is right below the screen, click the share button and share this broadcast with others. Share it in groups, share it on your page, so that others in your community can get the value of successful and fulfilled and see what's going on in this movement. Now, the third thing is we're also going to be using some hashtags. So we'll be using first, of course, #successful and fulfilled. We'll be using #undeniably you and #make your mark. Again, #successful and fulfilled, #undeniably you, and #make your mark. So that's it. That takes care of all of the preliminaries. And I am super excited because we're going to be training on the subject. You didn't fail, you just forgot who you are. So let's get going. You may be wondering, who is this presentation for, or if you're in the right place? Well, if you're someone who says, I'm successful, I have the degrees, I even have extra certifications, and I absolutely know what I'm talking about. But even with all of that, sometimes I doubt myself. Then this presentation is for you. Doubt can be crippling because it holds us back. How many of us, as good as we look in our clothes, as smart as we are with all of our degrees and with the money that we have in our bank accounts and investment accounts, how many of us won't really move forward? At least not in the way we really want to, because doubt is holding us back. In fact, you truly may not even feel worthy of where you are. Yes, you wanted to be there. You worked hard to get there, but you never really believed it would actually happen. And now that it has, sometimes you doubt yourself. You could even be experiencing what's known as the imposter syndrome, which is a psychological pattern in which an individual doubts their accomplishments and has a persistent internalized fear of being exposed as a fraud. If that's you, if you sometimes doubt yourself, you're in the right place. So go ahead and post in the feed, I'm in the right place. You're in the right place if you're someone who appears to be happy and successful on the outside, but on the inside, you're being torn apart. Things have happened to you, personally and professionally, things that no one knows about. And if anyone does know about it, they feel like you should be over it by now. So you don't even feel like you have anyone that you can talk about this with, or anyone you can share about how you're feeling and what you're experiencing on the inside in your mind and in your emotions, and maybe even in the dreams you have at night. Basically, you are silently suffering in what others call your beautiful life. I know exactly how that feels and have been there, done that. If that's you, you're in the right place. So post in the feed, I'm in the right place. And speaking of been there, done that, if you can raise your hand and say, been there, done that to anything, you're in the right place. Well, been there, done that to what? Perhaps it was in a personal relationship for you. You know, you fell in love, you just knew he was the one. But then you started noticing that some things he was doing just didn't align with who you thought he was. You may even have tried to ignore a few things and just stick it out. But ultimately, it just didn't work. If that's you, type in the feed hashtag been there, done that. Maybe it wasn't a relationship for you. Perhaps it was a job. You thought it was going to be your dream job. The interviews went well. You loved them. They loved you. And it felt like a match made in heaven. But over time, the politics and the pettiness made it unbearable. You love the work you do, but the environment is literally killing you. And now you dread getting up, going into the office every morning. If that's you, type in the feed, hashtag been there, done that. Maybe for you, it was in business. You always wanted to be an entrepreneur, and you finally got the courage to step out and get started because someone told you it wouldn't take that much time, and they said you wouldn't have to invest that much money. They said all you need to do is ABC and then XYZ, and you'll be on your way to being an entrepreneur. But as things unfolded, you found that not to be the case. You're putting in as much time here as you do in your day job and spending way more money than you ever thought you would. You were told one thing, but you got another. That would have been okay because all you really wanted was the truth so that your expectations could have been set properly from the beginning. Now you're at a crossroads, questioning your judgment and wondering whether or not you're even cut out for entrepreneurship. If that's you, you're in the right place, and this is for you. Post in the feed, girl, hashtag been there, done that. If you ever find yourself saying, there has to be more than just this, you're in the right place. You did what you were told. You got the degrees, You got the job, you had the corner office, you got the husband, you got the children, the car, you got the house, the 8-foot privacy fence. You even got the dog, the cat, ventured out into getting a guinea pig and a bird. Now, during the days, you find yourself just going through the motions. And at night, you lie awake wondering, is this all there is? You love your children and your husband. You cherish your relationship, and you don't want to get away from them. You just know there's more for you personally. You might even feel lonely and sometimes guilty. If that's you, you're absolutely in the right place. So go ahead and post in the feed, this is for me. You see, career and business success don't necessarily equal success in life. It's only part of it. You can achieve great things and still be unfulfilled. And while it may appear to others who are on the outside looking in that you're living the dream life and that you have it made, you know that success without fulfillment is empty. Research shows that the number one regret people have on their deathbed is that they lived the life they were expected to live, not the one they wanted to live. They lived in a state of emptiness, doing what was expected of them. And while they might have been successful, what they yearned for was fulfillment. And life is too long to live unfulfilled. We often say, life is too short for this or too short for that. Well, the average lifespan for a woman in the U.S. is reportedly 83.3 years. Now, that's a long time to live unfulfilled. Imagine living 83.3 years doing what someone else expected you to do, not what you wanted to do. If you're currently in your 30s or your 40s, that means you have 40 to 50 more years to go. And if you're currently in your 50s or 60s, that means you have 20 to 30 more years to go. Either way, it is a long time to live in a state of unfulfillment. But the good news is, you don't have to sacrifice your success for fulfillment, nor do you have to sacrifice your fulfillment for success. And you haven't failed. You just forgot who you are. And we're going to talk about that. So who am I and why do I care? Why does your fulfillment matter so much to me? Well, I'm a wife and I truly love and enjoy being married to my husband. He is just an amazing blessing from God. He's my rock, my friend, my business partner, and so much more. I'm an investor in real estate, in currencies, in stocks, and more importantly, in myself. And I'm a traveler. I love traveling. I'm blessed to have traveled nearly every continent in the world, and I genuinely consider it a blessing. I don't take that for granted. I enjoy experiencing different cultures, eating different foods, seeing different clothes and celebrations. I really love traveling. And I know I can't be the only one. So do we have anyone else out there who loves traveling? If so, why don't you post in the feed, I love to travel, and maybe even post one of your favorite places, the favorite places you've traveled to, or where's a place you're looking forward to traveling to. I'd love to hear and see that after this training. Another thing I love is the arts, music, dance, theater, photography. In fact, when I was growing up, I was absolutely convinced I would have a career singing and dancing on Broadway. But I'll share a bit more about that in just a few minutes and where my career took me, actually. Anyway, if you love the arts, go ahead and post in the group, I love the arts, and let me know what area you like best. Is it opera, symphony, music, plays, whatever it is, post it in the feed and let me know. So why do I care? Well, I've had the opportunity to work with women on nearly every continent on the planet, and many of them, while highly successful, were unfulfilled. They were following cultural norms and family norms, doing what they were expected to do. So my big why is that I want to help women all around the world not only be successful, but be fulfilled. I want to help you not only do the things you're expected to do, but advance and do the things you want to do so that you can fulfill your purpose, you can live out your calling, and you can manifest your destiny so that you don't let anyone, anything, or any situation deny you of your dreams or your fulfillment. So that also when you get to that point of transition that we talked about earlier, you're not plagued with that number one regret because you're not disappointed. You were able to live, not just exist. That's my big why. Now, a little bit more about me is that I spent 20 plus years in a career in technology. I know it's a far distance from Broadway, right? But my parents read in the Wall Street Journal that engineering and computing careers would be some of the top careers of the future. So because I was the oldest and I was a role model, I went to engineering school. Now, after that, I got a job. I did some amazing work, had some wonderful experience, met some brilliant people, worked with brilliant people, made great money, helped to create some world-changing technology. But even with all of that, I was unfulfilled because I was looking for more. I was, yes, happy, and grateful and appreciated the perks. I liked the money, but most of that time, I was unfulfilled. I felt like what Steve Jobs called a round peg in a square hole. I was a role model for my sisters, and I was doing what I was expected to do and what I had to do in some cases, but not really what I wanted to do. And the longer I stayed, the harder I felt it was to leave. And the more the question, is this all there is, kept coming up for me. So much so that it began to keep me up at night and screamed out for an answer, because it wasn't really what I wanted to do with my life. I literally had a hole in my soul. Yes, I was happy, but happiness is an emotional state. And I hear people say often, I just want to be happy. I just want to be happy, which is not a bad thing. But sometimes I wonder why they stop at happiness. Is it because it's better than sadness, better than discomfort? Or is it because they don't know there's fulfillment, which is beyond happiness? Or do they know about fulfillment, but just not believe they deserve it or they can have it? Yes, I was truly blessed, but I constantly wondered, is there more? Because I was yearning and longing for fulfillment. And fulfillment is a soulful state. It's a deep state of contentment. It's a place where it doesn't matter what you buy or where you go or what's going on around you, what the news says. You're in a place of peace, purpose, destiny, and certainty. You know where you're headed. In fact, you may not even know how you're going to get there, but you're assured of the fact that you are on the right path and you are open and receptive to how it unfolds. You're not emotionally tied to it looking like this or looking like that. You just know that you will get there and you're in a space where you are committed to enjoying the journey. And we can all have that. You can have that. Yes, you. Each and every one of you can have it, and you can have it without sacrificing your success. So if fulfillment is possible, what happened? Have you ever looked in the mirror and asked yourself, how did I get here? Or where did I go wrong? Or have you ever thought, what's really going on? All of those are just different ways of saying, this is not the way I thought my life was going to wind up. What happened? Well, there are 3 journeys in life: the primary journey, the professional journey, and the journey to fulfillment. The first journey is our primary journey. That's when we're born and we're being raised by our parents. They are instilling values in us, principles of life, maybe faith, family practices, etc. You go through elementary school, middle school, high school, all the way up to the time you graduate from college. It's that time when you're under your parents' care, and ideally their goal is to help equip you for life and help you to be a good contributing member of society. So that's journey number 1, the primary journey. Now, journey number 2 is the professional journey. This is when you start to take control of your life. You may have started a business and you're growing it, or you have a job. You may get married, buy a home and a car, and have children. You are living the quote unquote American dream. And you're on this journey to be self-sufficient, to be independent, to grow your life, and then repeat what your parents did, raise a family and continue in that direction. Well, the challenge with that is that in a lot of cases, this is what we're expected to do, and it may not be what we want to do. What I've discovered is that often we never really have a chance to even think about what we want to do. We're simply told, and we get in line, and that becomes our life. Some of you are thriving there. Life is good, and you have your eyes on the next level, and it's working out, and that is wonderful. But some of you know that achievement does not equal fulfillment. You're saying, I made it to the top. Now what? Well, when you're doing things that you really don't want to do deep down inside, you often land in a place of unfulfillment. There can be disappointments, there can be regrets, there can be restless nights. There can even be lots of money, fabulous vacations, amazing purses and shoes, and there can still be a hole in your soul. Who said that going to a job that pays you well but makes you physically ill is being responsible? Who said being in a business that feels like drudgery is fulfilling, regardless of how much money you make? Interestingly, people who are not in line are often called dreamers or rebels or irresponsible and irrational. And perhaps in some cases that's true, but not all. Steve Jobs said, "Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in square holes, the ones who see things differently. They're not fond of rules. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify them, vilify them. But the only thing you can't do is ignore them because they change things. They push the human race forward. And while some may see them as crazy, we see genius. Because the ones who are crazy enough to think that they can change the world are the ones who do." So that's journey number 2, the professional journey. Journey number 3 is the journey to fulfillment. And all of us at some point get to that place, to that fork in the road. Even billionaires like Bill Gates and Oprah Winfrey, they've made lots of money and probably have every material thing a person could possibly want, and even then some. And as I see it, both are now in the journey to fulfillment, journey number 3. Now, I love talking about Oprah because she continues to push beyond her comfort zone. I saw her speak at the California Women's Conference right around the time she was leaving her daytime TV show and starting the OWN network. I believe that somewhere inside, prior to this moment, Oprah realized there was more for her to do, that there was a bigger mark for her to make on the world. And that day, as she shared with us a bit of her history and began to talk about making the transition from daytime TV to owning a TV network, her voice cracked. And almost simultaneously, all 15,000 of us came to the same realization that Oprah was actually afraid. The room got so quiet that you could literally hear a flea breathe. We all watched as Oprah exhibited fear. And it was as if we hadn't thought about giving her the space to be human, but the human side was coming out regardless. She was actually afraid. And I actually thought she was going to cry. And I'm not certain she did because I was quite a distance away from the stage, but Maria Shriver grabbed her hand. And watching her on one of those huge screens in the Long Beach Convention Center, you could see that she was very emotional and holding back the tears at best. Now, personally, for me, this was also around the time I was making the transition away from my corporate job. My heart went out to her because she's on the world stage and any perception of failure for her would be huge. And I also thought at the same time, she's just like me. And if Oprah has those feelings, I am in good company. I believe she felt the same feelings of fear and doubt and uncertainty because she too was in uncharted territory. But nonetheless, there was something inside of her that caused her to push towards something greater. She had already made an unforgettable, a lasting mark on the world and could have just stayed where she was. And people would still be watching her TV show today. You get a car, you get a car, you get a car. But she made some bold moves. And today, whether you like the programming or not on the OWN network, we all have the privilege of watching only one of 2 networks, as far as I know of, that are owned by African American women in the U.S. How amazing is that? What a great example. Oprah is on her journey to fulfillment right before our very eyes. Did you realize that? I can say this, I'm glad to be sharing this space with her. Now, a lot of times when people get to this space, I've heard it called a midlife crisis. Dun, 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 dun. Yes, it's that transition point from journey number 2, the professional journey, to journey number 3, the journey to fulfillment. And in this transition, you might see doctors leaving their careers and becoming teachers, engineers leaving their careers and becoming photographers, lawyers going on the mission field. But the more I've lived and the more I've experienced, I've realized It's actually not a midlife crisis. It is really a midlife correction because we're moving away from the place where we've been expected to live to the place where we want to live. So post in the feed, it's not a midlife crisis, it's a midlife correction. And use the hashtag successful and fulfilled and hashtag make your mark. You see, I used to hear this time associated with things like getting a hot red sports car or a Harley or even a younger mate. It was believed that people were resisting aging. But now I think it's more about trying to fill a hole in their souls, trying to get to fulfillment. We've negatively termed it a midlife crisis. I see it as a midlife correction, where we start to correct ourselves and get on the journey we know we were intended to be on all along. Now, you don't have to leave your career for this. It's not about that. Perhaps you make some shifts and some tweaks, and maybe you become more entrepreneurial, or maybe you do work that's different than what you've done before, or maybe you move to a different part of the business, whatever that looks like for you. But again, we start to correct ourselves and get on the journey we know we were intended to be on. So that's journey number 3, the journey to fulfillment. So whose life are you living? And which journey are you on? If you said yes to any of the descriptions in the beginning of this training, you are ready for the journey to fulfillment. And it's time to make yourself a priority. Now, you may be asking yourself, can I be successful and fulfilled? Can you have success? Yes. Can you have fulfillment? Yes. Can you have them together? Abso-freaking-lutely. Post that in the feed again. You don't have to sacrifice one for the other. Absolutely not. Why? Because fulfillment is not a fantasy, ladies. It's a formula. And formulas work. And they can be repeated over and over and over again. They're no respecter of persons. And just the thought of that always brings a smile to my face, because that means I can have it. You can have it. We can all have it. So go ahead and put that in the feed. Fulfillment is not a fantasy, it's a formula. Again, fulfillment is not a fantasy, it's a formula. And we're going to talk about that in a second. But before we do that, take out your cell phone and text the word Kim to 408-913-6963. Again, text the word Kim to 408-913-6963. 6963. This is going to let you download the workbook that we're going to be using in the next section of this training. So text Kim to 408-913-6963. Now, while you're doing that, let's talk more about this fulfillment formula. I have a background in engineering, and I'm an interesting mix of creative and logical. You already know I love the arts. I love math and I love science. I have a questioning mind. So it's natural for me to think about formulas. In fact, our lives tend to be formulaic. There's a formula for how you roll out of bed every morning and a formula for how you brush your teeth every day. There's also a formula that's gotten you where you are in life today. And it's worked over and over again. It's called the American Dream. Now, maybe you just didn't realize it was a formula, but you know it. It goes like this: go to college, get a job, get married, have children, everything we talked about in journey number 2. Now, that's why the number one regret people have on their deathbed is that they lived the life they were expected to live, not the one they wanted to live. The formula under which most of us live is not designed to get you to fulfillment. But for you, gone are the days, because you now know fulfillment is not a fantasy, it's a formula. So let's talk about that formula, the formula for fulfillment. The formula is M plus R squared plus L equals F. Doesn't that sound like something mathematical or scientific? For some, it may look a bit complicated, and others probably not, but it's actually very, very simple. M is master. R squared is rewire and redefine. L is launch. So when you master, when you rewire and redefine, and when you launch, you get on the journey to fulfillment. Now let's look a bit deeper into each part of the formula. M is master, mastering your relationship with disappointment. Now, this was created out of my own journey. This M section, the first component of the fulfillment formula. In fact, all of these components were. But this first component is all about mastering your relationship with things that didn't work well in your life. Disappointments, regrets, areas of unfulfillment. We've all had that in our lives. The number one cause of disappointment is misaligned expectations. You expected one outcome and you got another. You wanted this, you got that. That's how I know we've had it. In fact, failure is nothing more than when something didn't turn out the way you thought it would. And some of us have had so many disappointments that we've lost faith that things can turn around. We've started building monuments to disappointment because they've started stacking up so high that before you knew it, you erected a shrine. And in order to be able to move forward and get to a place of fulfillment, you have to clear out all of those old things, as well as you have to have a tool to process through future disappointments and future unfulfillments and future, areas of regret that are sure to come your way. Processing through regrets, learning lessons, putting those things into practice, reinforcing what you learned, and moving forward with new tools and tips so that you're revived and refreshed. That's what this is all about. Experiencing a rebirth, moving from regret to rebirth. So that's the M. R squared is rewire and redefine. Rewire what, you may ask? Well, rewire what I call your affirmational memory. This is the space that holds the beliefs about who you are, what you can do, about where you should be, where you can go, what you can have. It's those things that you affirm to yourself over and over and over again on a daily basis through your thoughts and beliefs. And they can serve us well or not. Research shows we have from as little as 12,000 thoughts a day to as many as 70,000 thoughts a day. And that's 70% of them are negative. So our minds are just busy affirming things. And that's really alarming because everything begins with a thought. And much of what we think was given to us or passed down from others. And we just accepted it. It came from our parents, our teachers, from friends, from TV, magazines, relatives, and so on. And rarely do we question what we think. Now, I'm not saying that they didn't mean well. It's just that in a lot of cases, some of those things haven't served you well. And in some cases, there's actual proof that what we think is not true. But we keep those thoughts and beliefs. We hold on to them anyway. Perhaps it's because they're comfortable or because it takes work to find something else to believe in if what you currently believe in doesn't hold true. Well, it's time to begin to rewire and replace those thoughts. Rewiring your own beliefs, your self-talk, agreements that you have with others and with yourself, both conscious and unconscious. It also has to do with the actions you take because the actions you take are based on the beliefs that you have. So we have to rewire that affirmational memory and go deep to uproot beliefs that are not serving us well. So that's rewire. Now, redefine is this. Once you've cleared out disappointments and rewired your affirmational memory, you're in a perfect place to redefine success and to do it on your terms. So how do you redefine success? Well, glad you asked. You have to focus on your goals, your desires, your dreams. You get to become selfish and self-centered, neither of which is bad because we're not going to stay there. We're just visiting to glean some things because you have a right to focus on your dreams and not just a right, but really a responsibility. I've heard it said that you can't have it all, and I tend to be a bit contrarian, so I literally believe you can have it all, as long as you define what it all is from your desire and for your fulfillment. Because if you're not in pursuit of a predefined dream, then you can go for your goals, your desires, your dream. So that's redefine. And L is for launch. Launch into the undeniable you. It's where you give yourself permission to be awesome, to be audacious, to be the downright amazing woman you were created to be who you are and not be squashed by ideas and ideals from society, from family norms, workplace cultures, etc., etc. So give yourself permission here. You create a plan. You do what you need to do to prepare, which could be learn something new, take a class, invest in you, get a new tool, whatever it might be, we'll work that out. But you need all of this so you can perform, so you can literally launch into the undeniably you, into your purpose, into your destiny, into your calling, into what you believe you were meant to be in the world, and have the impact you were meant to make on the world. So that's the L. So that's an overview of the entire formula, all 4 components. And those components lead you into fulfillment. Again, it's M plus R squared plus L equals F. Master, rewire and redefine, launch into the undeniable you, and you move into fulfillment. Now you may be wondering, this all sounds good and it looks really great on the slides, Kim, but does this really work? And can it work for me? Can I get on the path to fulfillment? Can I be both successful and fulfilled? Well, again, I say, abso-freaking-lutely. Remember, fulfillment is not a fantasy, it's a formula. Remember, you didn't fail. You just forgot who you are. Remember Oprah. It's not about accomplishment and achievement. It's about fulfillment. As a matter of fact, someone posts that in the feed. It's not about achievement. It's all about fulfillment. Again, it's not about achievement. It's all about fulfillment. And then go ahead and follow that up with hashtag successful and fulfilled. Hashtag make your mark. So what I want to do now is actually walk you through in detail part 1, the M in the fulfillment formula, mastering your relationship with disappointment, moving from regret to rebirth. This is why you need that pen and paper and why you wanted to download your workbook. So if you've already been taking notes, go ahead and get a clean sheet of paper. And once you have it, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to draw a vertical line down the center of the page. And then draw a horizontal line across the center of the page. And what we're doing is creating 4 quadrants. So these quadrants, we're going to walk through these. And these are the 4 steps to move from regret to rebirth. Now, we will not have time to do that for all 4 components of the fulfillment formula because we're just limited here in this video space. But what I did want to do is walk through in detail one part together. And I invite you to stay with me, even though in your workbook you can flip ahead and you can see all 4 quadrants. Don't jump ahead. Take the opportunity to be present to all of the columns or all of the quadrants as we walk through them. So let's get started. We're going to start with quadrant 1. That's going to be your top left corner. And for those of you who are writing on paper, you're going to label it go through. This column is all about the things that you had to go through in the past. So here you're going to list the top 3 to 4 disappointments, unfulfillments, unmet expectations, failures, those things that come up for you right now. Things you had to go through that left you feeling like a failure or feeling disappointment. And this is important that we do this because disappointment is an invisible force that can literally control your life. It shapes who you are, the decisions you make, and can put you on an entirely different path than you were intended to be on. It's like gravity. It has a strong force and you can't see it, but does it control you? Oh yeah, without a doubt, it does. So even as I'm talking, go ahead and write down things that are on your mind or on your heart. This can be anyone, anything, or any situation that has left you with unmet expectations. It can be business. It can be personal. It can be relational, financial, from any part of life. I know for myself, a huge disappointment when I first got started in business. I invested time and money in a number of programs, products, and people. And the more I invested, the more disappointed I became because the outcomes were not aligning with my expectations. And that happened for a number of different reasons. So I just wanted to give you that example so that you can see it can be anyone, anything, or any situation that has caused you regret, that has left you with unmet expectations or unfulfilled areas of your life leading to disappointment. And while you're doing that, let me ask you a question. Think about this. Is there any place, any situation where you might have been part of the problem? I know for me, the answer to that was yes, and I had to put my name down and take responsibility for some things as well. So that's what we want to do here in quadrant 1. And I want to pause for about 10 seconds to let you finish that up. Okay, so if you're still writing, go ahead and finish your last sentence or your last point before we move on to quadrant number 2. And actually, before we do that, as we're going through these 4 quadrants, which I said were created out of my own entrepreneurial journey, we're going to do some initial rewiring of your affirmational memory. So the reaffirmation for quadrant number 1 is this: these are the things I had to go through, but they are not who I am. These are the things I had to go through, but they are not who I am. I am #successful and fulfilled. I can #make my mark. So that's quadrant number 1. Quadrant number 2 is going to be the top right hand of your paper. That quadrant you want to label grow through. So quadrant 1 is go through, quadrant 2 is grow through. And what you're going to write in this quadrant is lessons that you learned and how you were able to grow through the things that you had to go through in quadrant number 1. This is where you trade expectation for appreciation. And every time you do that, you'll have a different outcome. You see, disappointment will add to you no matter what. You just have to decide whether it'll add something positive or something negative. Will it be a weight of regret on you or a lesson learned? One makes you wiser, the other makes you more disappointed, miserable, and worrisome. Regardless, you have to decide what it will be. So if you don't have a process to deal with failures or disappointment, it only adds regret and bitterness to your life, and it becomes a weight. As humans, we have 2 opposing hormonal responses to life: adrenaline and cortisol, or oxytocin. The fight or flight hormone adrenaline speeds up your heart rate and creates that hyper alert state that would allow you to rapidly react your way out of a physical danger if that were the case. But today, most common stressors are more likely mental and emotional instead of physical. Now, adrenaline is healthy for the body at times, but when stress or the stress of disappointment stays too long, it produces another hormone called cortisol. Now, I'm not a doctor, so let me insert that disclaimer in right now. But I just have a questioning mind, and I research a lot of things because it's important for me to know what's going on around me and inside of me. Now, when cortisol levels remain high in your body for long periods, it begins to break down non-essential organs and tissues in order to maintain high levels of blood sugar to feed the vital organs. So ladies, your body literally begins to cannibalize itself. In addition, these high levels of stress hormones, they can cause chronic anxiety, high blood pressure, a weakened immune system, weight gain around the waist, depression, mental and physical fatigue, heart disease, and even emotional outbursts, and so much more. But the good news is that your body has a built-in mechanism for countering the effects of rising cortisol levels, and that is oxytocin, the love or bonding or happy hormone. The anti-stress effect of oxytocin helps your body restore its own health naturally. So by countering cortisol, oxytocin can amend all of those conditions. Some simple ways to increase oxytocin in your body include smiling and laughing, meditating and praying, exercising, and even giving, such as volunteering and doing things for others, and even crying, because it gets you out of the space of suppressing your emotions. Again, we won't go too much deeper into that, but if you don't have a process to deal with your failures or disappointments or unmet expectations, it could lead to some serious issues. So now, as we focus on the lessons we learned, they can be one-to-one or one-to-many, and I'll give you a couple of examples. So an example of one-to-one could be something like locking your keys in the car. I know it can cause frustration, maybe make you miss a meeting or an appointment, but that's a simple example where you lock your keys in your car. Next time, the lesson you learn is you want to make sure you know where they are before you lock the car. In the case of something like a divorce, there can be many, many lessons learned from that one experience. You may regret being divorced, and some of the lessons you learned could be something like learning to compromise better, or learning to express my opinions in love, or agree to disagree in a healthy way, and so on. There can be many, many lessons learned in that case. The idea here is to have an attitude of gratitude. Gratitude allows your body to produce endorphins and cortisol. So you want to look for things to be thankful for. So take about 10 more seconds and go ahead and write down the lessons you learned from some of the things you had to go through in quadrant 1. And you're coming from a healthy place, a place of empowerment, from a place that shows how you can do things differently going forward. So what did you learn? How were you able to grow? John Maxwell said, sometimes we win, sometimes we learn. I believe when we learn, we win. So my view is that we're always winning. It just may be in different ways. So what are the winning lessons that you can pull out of some of these regrets you had to go through? That's quadrant 2. And if you're still writing, go ahead and finish that up so we can start to move to quadrant 3. And just like we did in quadrant 1, I want to give you a reaffirmation before we go into quadrant 3. So the reaffirmation for quadrant 2 is this: I am glad that I could grow through what I had to go through. Again, I am glad that I could grow through what I had to go through. I am #successful and fulfilled. I can #make my mark. Fantastic. That's quadrant number 2. So now let's move to quadrant number 3. In this quadrant, you want to label it practice and teach. Again, label this one practice and teach. So what we're going to do here is, from the lessons that we learned in quadrant number 2, you're going to put down, what have you already put into practice and what results are you getting? What difference has it made in your life already? So you may have written many lessons down in quadrant number 2, but have not had an opportunity to put them all into practice. So even if it's just one lesson, that's major. Let's capture that here. Let's capture what you've done, what you've put into practice, and what results you've gotten from it. So if you learn from the simple lesson to always make sure your keys are in your hand before you lock the door, what results have you been getting from that? It's probably something like, I haven't locked my keys in the car in a really long time, so I've avoided that frustration. So that's the idea. The idea is what results are you getting from the lessons you put into practice? And the beautiful thing about that is that when you get results, you can then turn around and teach others. You will be in a position where you can be able to help others go through and grow through with someone who has gone through. And this is really important because a lot of times the lessons we learn in life are not just for us, they're for others as well. And they are for us to be able to help others along the way. In addition, those things that you've put into practice and you're getting results from, you can take those things and begin to craft your own personal success formula. And what that does is it becomes a filter for you that you run things through to help you avoid going back to quadrant number 1 and having regrets and failures and disappointments. So what lessons did you learn? What did you put into practice so that it's reinforced? And then what were you able to teach others? So let's take another few seconds to wrap up the thought or complete the sentence there in quadrant number 3. And as you're doing that, I'm going to move on forward and give you the reaffirmation for quadrant number 3. And it is, I am empowered to help others go through and grow through with someone who has gone through. Again, I am empowered to help others go through and grow through with someone who has gone through. I am #successful and fulfilled. I can #make my mark. So that's quadrant number 3. Now let's look at quadrant number 4. Quadrant 4, you're going to label it rebirth. Again, rebirth. I love that word because it's about having a fresh start, being renewed, having released the things that were holding you back and keeping you down. You're able to rise and move forward. Each quadrant here is very special because, again, they're all phases for helping you to be able to move forward from regret to rebirth. But quadrant 4, this is very special because you're taking things forward with you. And what we're going to do here is, rather than write things down, we're going to draw a woman in the center of the quadrant. When I went through this the first time, I drew a woman with a triangle dress, like the bathroom lady, with her hands up in the air, stick hands, and I gave her stick legs and some hair and some earrings. So you don't have to be an artist here. That's really what I'm saying. Draw your woman, and all around her, you're going to write things that you carried forward from what you had to go through in quadrant 1, how you're able to grow through in quadrant 2, and how you're able to, put those things into practice and help others as well. So for me, when I did this, I wrote things that were about how I was going to rise and move forward. And so it was about putting life back into myself so I could continue to pursue my dreams. And some of the things I wrote there were trusting my own voice, belief in my mission, belief in my vision, listening to my own voice, putting the right people around me. I have a new book. I have a website I love. These are some of the things I wrote down because this is a space where you've cleared out everything and you remember who you are. It's about tearing down those shrines and those monuments to disappointment. So what are you carrying forward with you? How are you reappearing, and how are you starting to flourish or to increase after the decline? How are you being revived, reawakened, renewed, rejuvenated on the other side of all of this? Remember, you haven't failed. You just forgot who you are. And you can find your significance in those sea of failures. You've been living the life you were expected to live, not the one that you wanted to live. Now it's about finding your true north and getting on the path to fulfillment. So take a few seconds to go ahead and complete those things you're carrying forward. And as you're doing that, the reaffirmation for quadrant number 4 is this: I am rejuvenated, I am revived, I rise. Again, I am rejuvenated, I am revived, and I rise. I am #successful and fulfilled. I can #make my mark. So how was that experience for you? Write in the feed and let me know. Let me know it was great. It was hard. I feel revived. I feel rejuvenated. I thought I'd gotten over some of those things. Whatever it is, take a moment to post it in the feed what that experience was like for you. And remember this. This is only step 1 of the fulfillment formula. The M, master your relationship with disappointment and move from regret to rebirth. So it's time to come back to yourself. You didn't fail. You just forgot who you are. So who are you? You are a person who can endure through hard times. You are a person who can learn from your mistakes. You are a person that can get it done no matter what. You didn't fail. You were a person on a journey. You didn't fail. You are human and you have the right to learn. So begin to train your mind with these reaffirmations during good times so that when tough times hit, you're not running on feelings, but your affirmational memory will kick in. So say this with me. I am a woman who can learn from my mistakes. I am a woman who can endure through hard times. As a matter of fact, post in the feed. I am a woman who gets it done no matter what. I am a woman who is designed to win. I am a woman who can help others go through and grow through with someone who has gone through. And remember, you want to use these reaffirmations during the good times. So when things hit you, instantly your affirmational memory kicks in and you're in a good place. So what's next? Well, in this training, we barely touched the surface of the first component of a fulfillment formula. And let me tell you that this is something that you don't go through in an hour or a day or even in a week. It's a process. For me, when I was going through this, as I was creating it, it took days, weeks, and literally 3 or 4 months later, I was still coming back, writing down disappointments, extracting lessons, looking at how I put things into practice and what results I was getting, and working out how I was going to move forward and add those things to what I was already carrying forward in my state of being revived and flourishing. Everything I had to go through didn't happen all at once, not in a minute or a day. So the process of working through these things will take different times for different people. And in some cases, depending on the disappointment, it'll take different times for the same person to process through things. It's a process. And if you want to go deeper into mastering your relationship with disappointment and the other three components of the fulfillment formula, well, then I have a special invitation I want to extend to you. My invitation is to join a winning team in the Successful and Fulfilled Academy. If you want to be a part of a mastermind and enjoy the type of training and support you're receiving now, where experts talked about components of self-mastery, business principles, and wealth building, if you are looking to make sure you're connected to a resource that is all about supporting you to live a successful and fulfilled lifestyle, if you want to be a part of this movement of individuals dedicated to not only the emotional state of happiness, but to the soulful state of fulfillment, I invite you to a private conversation so that we can make sure to learn more about you and you can learn more about us. So come on over to www.successfulandfulfilledinterview.com now. It's a great opportunity for me to learn more about what you want to be successful, what you need to be fulfilled, and what's important to you in your life. This is a highly customized membership, so we're very selective. And I want to meet with you to be sure it's a good fit for both of us. So if you're ready to share your talents and your skills, your treasure, your expertise, your experience, so someone else can live a successful and fulfilled life, this is the place to be. Maybe you want to share your story, or maybe you're called to serve others. If you want to collaborate, network, and connect with a group of women who have this one guiding belief, that you don't have to sacrifice your success for fulfillment, nor do you have to sacrifice your fulfillment for success. You can have it all, as long as you're the one who defines what it all is. So I invite you to go over to www.successfulandfulfilledinterview.com and make sure you register, and I'll see you there. There's a small investment that comes with it, and let me show you what you get access to. You get access to bi-weekly trainings. We hold those on the first and third Tuesday of every month. You have the intensive workshops that are going to hone in and focus on how do we help you define your purpose, your calling, your destiny, and get on the path to pursuing it. You get the Undeniably You conference, which is unlike any other conference you've been to. It's not one of those where you sit and you are taught and listen and take in a hose of information. No, you're actually involved. You are engaged. And this is all about you, all about furthering your journey to fulfillment, all about helping you to really be successful and truly be fulfilled. So it's a very different experience. And I'll give you a hint. For me, it has to be near water. You also have special guest and expert trainings. We record all of the trainings, and if you can't be there live, you won't miss any of the value of the training. So if something is going on in your business or your life and you can't make the training, you don't have to be concerned about missing any of the value. Everything is recorded, and not just the audio, but also the video, the conversations, Q&A, key learnings, all of that, so you miss none of the value. We miss your presence if you're not there and hearing your voice, but you don't have to be concerned about being left out or missing value. Now, for those of you who know you're interested in the Successful and Fulfilled Academy and act quickly, I put together a couple of bonuses for you. The first bonus is a one-day Undeniably You experience. This is a time where you and I work one-on-one. We dig deep. We go way down, and I ask you questions that you might even be hesitant to ask yourself. It's a beautiful space and a safe place, and it's all about going deep to get down into what really is going to make you fulfilled and what really, really is going to make you fulfilled. Now, the reason I'm honing in on fulfillment is because if you're here, I know you not only want success, but you desire fulfillment. You may be successful in business or successful in your career, but there are other areas that you really want to work on to bring it all together for complete fulfillment. So diving in, going deep, doing the work, and getting clarity. This is a day set aside to specifically focus on helping you determine what it is you really want. And a lot of times we don't give ourselves the space to think about those things, but this is a way to methodically go through and identify what you want. We also work together to identify your gifts and your talents. This is not your standard personality type test like some of the others you might have taken. This is purpose-driven. This is about clarity. This is about helping you to get on the path to fulfillment. It's a phenomenal exercise that's also a bonus here as well. And also for the first 10 people that set up appointments and we have a conversation and determine that you're going to be a member of this customized, successful, and fulfilled academy, membership has its privileges. You're going to get a private one-on-one. The focus of this is completely different. It's whatever you want to focus on. We're going to dig down and do even deeper work here. I find that success and fulfillment, clearing out disappointments and failures, rewiring your affirmational memory, all of these things that are a part of the formula. It's like layer upon layer upon layer, like peeling back the onion. You never get it all at once. And once you peel back that onion, there are more things that are revealed. Then you peel back other layers and there are more things that are revealed. This is how we actually dive down and get to the place that you want to get to so you can be in a soulful state of fulfillment. So that no one, nothing, and no situation is able to pull you away from the path you're on once you're clear, once you're certain, and once you know the direction you're heading in. So I'm really, really excited about this. So just to summarize it all, this is what you get. The Undeniably You Masterclass, the private one-on-one, the Undeniably You Experience, the Successful and Fulfilled Academy, trainings, workshops, conferences, guest trainings, and much, much more. I always have little secrets in my bag because I love giving gifts. So I always have other things in store for the members of this academy. So go on over to www.successfulandfulfilledinterview. Again, this is an opportunity for us to have a conversation, for me to get to know you and you to get to know more about us so we can determine if this is the right community for you to begin your journey to fulfillment and see it through. Now, as I wrap up this training, when we live the life we are expected to live and forego the life we want to live, we are merely existing, not living. Now, that was fine when you didn't know you could have fulfillment. But now that you know fulfillment is not a fantasy, it's a formula, you owe it to yourself to pursue fulfillment. You can get on the path to fulfillment and start living, not just existing. What would it feel like if you could move past the regret of living the life you're expected to live and experience the rebirth of living the life you want to live and the soulful state of fulfillment? How would you feel when you wake up every day? How would you feel at night? Would you sleep better? Would you smile more? Would you be more creative? Would you stress less? Would your relationships be more fulfilling? Would you take more time for you? Ladies, life is too long to live unfulfilled. You have the opportunity to make the rest of your days the best of your days, and only you can do it by getting on the path to fulfillment. You deserve to be successful. You deserve to be fulfilled. You don't have to sacrifice your success for your fulfillment, nor do you have to sacrifice your fulfillment for your success. You can #have it all. You were created to win and to be in a place of certainty and destiny. And I know that the successful and fulfilled formula, when you put it into practice, will get you to fulfillment. So I'm super excited that you've joined this summit. It's been a wonderful experience. And I pray that we have blessed your life immeasurably. And I am looking forward to hearing some of the results and the input and the feedback from you as being a participant in this summit. So you will hear from us very soon. Thank you and have a wonderful, wonderful day.